What is happening, good people? We're here for Macro Dirt Podcast number 29 with Assface Jared Dillian. What's happening, brother?
What's up, shitbird?
Nah, we're ready to go, man. Let's get right into it today. By the way, does Professor Lambo from Goodwill Hunting know that you stole his wardrobe?
Come on, man. You're a John Barbados guy. This is John Barbados jacket.
I know. I was teasing, but I had to figure out what vibes your fashion was throwing off to me, and I kept coming back to Professor Lambo from Goodwill Hunting, who always had a nice blazer and a scarf on. You know what I mean? Like, it's your total look. It's your total look. Let's dig right into the markets, JD. The dollar turned. I know you want to talk about that shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's so the dollar's down 2 days in a row. You've got these MACD divergences on the short term and the long term. You had a DeMarc 13 last week. That's all the technical stuff. I mean, really, if you want to talk about fundamentals, inauguration is next week. My position is that Trump and Besant are going to shit all over the dollar. And you have a lot of longs, dude. It's a very consensus trade. You have a lot of longs. They're going to be trapped. It's going to be a big move. It's going to retrace 31.8% of the move. That's my position. So I'm happy to see the price action the last 2 days. I think it's a little bit too early to, take a victory lap. Considering, I was early on that and, I've lost money on it. So too early for a victory lap, but I like it.
This is why people listen to us, though, because we have humility when, things are still undecided, right? Like we said, we've got a large magnitude pullback in the dollar from the highs, a very abrupt sea change in price action that's observable, but we haven't broken any levels yet, right? So that's where, we can't take the victory lap, but we can take two other victory laps. And I know you're with me on this. First of all, we said the BCON was going to get shot out of a cannon if the dollar reversed. And the BCON is rallying. It's scraping new highs after a big bar higher. Like, it's repricing like we said it would.
And let me just jump in on that.
Please.
It's not just gold and oil. It is
true.
Not just gold, oil, and copper. It's everything. It's the whole basket is rallying.
Yeah, ags, grains, softs, like you can't ignore it, you can't ignore it. And to me, I'm like, I keep going back to, remember when we doubled the balance sheet in 1 year? You remember when we jacked money supply 40%? Like, there it is. That's all I keep thinking. Let's take another quick victory lap. I want to make sure that the car is still running on this victory lap. Yeah, I mean, we called the Icarus print in NVIDIA fairly well. That thing, the day that we made the call, it settled at the day we published the podcast, rather, it settled at 140, traded to a low of 130 the other day, 135 bid now with the stock market bounce, which I'll tell you how I feel about it. But what do you think of that? Is that driving things still, JD, or any thoughts on NVIDIA?
When I look at the chart of NVIDIA, I mean, yes, we got the Icarus print. It doesn't look like a super bearish chart to me. It's kind of scudding along the highs. It's in a range. You really need to break below 130 to break that range, and then you can pile on.
Couldn't agree more.
So, well, on the other hand, the Apple chart is a fucking disaster. Is a complete disaster.
Yeah, let me take a look.
Are you pulling it up?
Yeah, pulls all the way back to the 100-day moving average, and quickly, it's settling in here in between the 50 and 100-day. I would give you disaster below 230, but it's 238 bid right now. That's kind of where I am.
Went at 230 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it traded there on the lows. I agree. They might be both in a similar kind of position, right? When you do that kind of overlay where they're holding support, which is not shocking the first time down, especially in a bull tech market so far. But, all of that changes really quickly. This thing could do the moving average mambo so fast your head will spin if we start giving up today's gains at any point. I kind of think that's probable given the read on CPI and PPI that the market's giving us. What do you think of that? We've got them both out of the barn. I feel like the numbers were a wash, but the market is reacting.
Well, I got to tell you, the bond market has been selling off for weeks, and especially the last couple of days. Yesterday, we had PPI, which was very soft. The bond market didn't believe it. It gapped up on the print, gapped back down, and traded lower all day, right? So today, the bond market believes it. Like the long bond is up almost 2 handles. It's a big move.
Two sigma move in bonds. Very big move. Go ahead.
Yeah. I don't think we have. I think we're close. I don't think we have bottomed in bonds yet. I think we're very close, but I don't think we've hit the bottom yet.
I see this trend. The conversation in my head has been, is the market sending us a message by breaking above last year's high in yields right in the first week of January? And I'm going to stick with that call. And I still think it is, because I still, no matter what, I feel like the next set of inflation data is going to be hotter because we have this big commodity rally going on. So I feel like it's, you can pay me now or you can pay me later on another bond sell-off, but I feel like it's coming. I'd love to know where Druckenmiller is now. He's got a huge move in his direction, and I'd love to know if he's taken any off or if he's doubling down here.
I gotta get something on the tape. I gotta get something on the historical record here. So Trump wants interest rates to be lower, okay? And in his first term, he was shitting all over Powell, telling him to cut rates to negative. But the Fed just cut rates 100 basis points, and the long end got annihilated. Like long-term rates went up a lot, right? So the curve just steepened. It steepened like 70 basis points, okay? So cutting Fed funds didn't bring long-term rates down. Honest to God, I think we are very close to yield curve control, okay? I think that the new Treasury Secretary and whoever is going to be the new Fed chairman a year from now, I honestly think we are going to cap long-term rates at some level, 4.5, 5, 4. And that is the starting gun for the biggest gold and commodity rally in history, Yeah. So, I think this is, now I'm saying this as if it's a sure thing, like it's going to happen. I think it's like a 10% chance,
Mm-hmm.
But, oh my God, once the inauguration happens, I do not want to be short bonds. Let me tell you something. The biggest bond move I have ever seen in my career was in November of 2008. And it was the day that Ben Bernanke announced QE, okay? The long bond was up almost 9 handles, 9% in a day. It was, the stock market doesn't even move like that. So if you think, if you're, cruising along short bonds, you're pretty comfortable in this position, you've been short bonds for the last 3 months, and after the inauguration, Trump says, yeah, we're going to think about capping interest rates. Dude, it is going to be like 5 to 10% in your mush, instantaneously.
I would agree that that's a no way out trade. That's a bold call. It's kind of an aggressive prediction, but it sort of fits the narrative. He would be doing that to sort of calm the bond market down, right? Like it would be a clear sign that the authorities are stepping in and not letting shit get out of control. I think it could be the starting gun to another leg of the stock market rally too. If they're not going to let, stocks love bonds in a range. That's what they love. So if we go ahead and define the peak in yields here, define the peak in the dollar here, define the peak in the yield curve here, as you say, then the whole game could change on the year, and it could be a big risk on kind of development. I'm still so, nervous that it can't look any better for Bitcoin, that maybe it can't look any better for tech, at some levels, for the AI trade and things like that. So I'm really nervous for that stuff into the inauguration. I'm really hopped up over this because Monday's a holiday. Like you said in your dirt nap this morning, we're going to get headlines that night. Tuesday morning next week, you better wake up with a helmet on. I think God knows what could happen next Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see, some kind of hedging. That's why I think this kind of plays into one of the last conversations I had. The S&P's up a rope this morning on data that's out of the barn. It trades right back up to 50-day moving average resistance, trades right back to the new downward sloping set of highs. And I'm wondering if it doesn't fail here and continue on its way lower, kind of into and around inauguration. So I got a feeling, if you ask me, like I'd be buying some volatility down here to cover me for next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday kind of thing. So that's just how I'm looking at it. But today we've got, we just had financials report. We've got 3 Sigma rallies in Citigroup, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, 2 Sigma rallies in social media, 2 Sigma rallies in Morgan Stanley and American Express. Those were the financials were the sector that got on their horse when it became clear that Trump was going to win the presidency. You got a huge move higher in them now. Like that's a bullish thing for the stock market to me. So there's a lot to weigh out in the next couple of days, if that's fair to say. What do you think about? Do you think anything about builders, JD? I mean, obviously, if you think that if you're getting bullish bonds, you might be getting bullish builders with rates.
Yes. Yeah. And builders have traded off quite a bit.
I was just going to say, you've got a juicy dip to dig into here, man. It's into support. It's probably 20% off the highs.
Plus the long-term thesis of we just let 10 million people into the country and they're going to need freaking houses. So,
Yeah, that one kind of jumps out and hits you in the head like a frying pan.
By the way, some houses burned down in California.
The number is staggering, and I can't regurgitate it, but I heard the number this morning of the number of structures that were destroyed, and it literally made me wince. Who hasn't driven down, that highway through the Palisades in California, and to imagine that beautiful neighborhood is gone is just beyond me.
By the way, you know what I just saw on Twitter before I just came on?
What's that?
So Gavin Newsom has just signed an executive order that makes it illegal, a crime, a criminal offense for a developer to offer cash for somebody's land whose house burned down. So you think about this, your house burned down. It's going to take you 5 years to rebuild. You're going to be living out of a hotel. Like everything sucks. You're like, screw it. I just want to sell my land and move the hell out of here, move someplace else. And he literally just made it a crime to do that.
I don't know what to say other than, he's becoming like Bill de Blasio and Alexander Mayorkas, the most powerful, uncheckable politician that the world has ever seen. And all I can do is respect that kind of power. I really do. I'm in awe of it. No, it's power for the sake of power, and it's fuck you power. And they wield it with a sword right in your face and chop heads off. And I am in awe of that. I truly am in awe of that because there's nobody around to stop him. And I'll tell you what, after the fires, I'll bet you $1 that he stays in office as governor. And I'll bet you another $1 that he runs for president.
Yeah, I know.
This is not going to make a dent in his political career. This is going to launch him to the most powerful, uncheckable opposition to President Trump that his administration will face. Watch.
I think you are 100,000,000% right. Yeah.
It's people are out there calling for his resignation. I'm like, you guys have got the newspaper upside down. He's about to get a big promo from the deep state, man. And I almost want to get off the topic before we put our tinfoil hats on and I get myself in trouble. Right? Should we go off markets, JD?
Yeah.
All right, let's just blaze a path off markets here. I want to talk a little bit. As the market was closing yesterday, the Hexith confirmation was hitting the tape, and man, there was some fun stuff going on there. Did you see that?
I saw bits and pieces of it. Dude, we have some dumb lawmakers. I mean, really, like Mazie Hirono from Hawaii.
That was unbelievable. I thought that was a comedy skit. I thought that they were making up what she was saying and dubbing it over her voice. I thought it was being dubbed over her voice, and I was like, I saw it 6 times over, and it was like, this is real. I was terrified.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Dude, on top of that, he comes out and wins me over with all glory, regardless of the outcome, belongs to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Like, number one, like, where did you get this guy? Number two, how does he come out guns blazing in his own confirmation about Jesus Christ? I mean, there's some messaging.
You know what I thought was the most interesting part
What's
was
that?
when Johnny Ernst, who is a Republican, who doesn't like him, was asking him about women in combat roles.
Yeah.
Right. And previously, he had said that he did not want women in combat roles. So today or yesterday in the hearing, he said, yes, we will have women in combat roles. But, and this is the big part, physical fitness standards must be enforced. Right. So what they're going to do in DOD is they're going to set physical fitness standards for men and women both, not different ones for men and for women, but the same physical fitness standards. And if you can't meet those standards, you can't serve in a combat role.
Brilliant call, JD. I couldn't agree more. And we are so lockstep on this point. Here's the quote that I pulled from the fucking confirmation yesterday. The weight of the ruck on your back doesn't change. The weight of the 155 round that you have to carry doesn't change. The weight of the 240 Bravo machine gun you might have to carry doesn't change. So whether it's a man or a woman, they have to meet the same high standards. Freaking mic drop right there.
Yep.
You know, I mean, that is another a nail in the DEI coffin like there hasn't been one. Like that's the DEI in military is dead. Like we're going back to preparedness and lethality as measures of how good the armed forces are. So that's really exciting. First of all, let's not forget Pete Hegseth should have 100 Thug Life sunglasses left on his desk for the day that he shows up in office, just for his response to Pocahontas.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh my God. She goes, so you're quite sure that every general who serves should not go directly into the defense industry for 10 years, and you're not willing to make the same pledge? And he leans forward and he goes, I'm not a general. Right? And she's like, oh shit. But like she went down like Foreman in freaking Zaire, right? Like she went down like a ton of bricks right in front of everybody. And like you just wait for the Thug Life glasses to fall down on his face, man. But I get serious Clarence Worley from True Romance vibes from Pete Hegseth. Do you get that?
Yeah. Now we got
like
to
Christian Slater.
talk about my Substack.
Oh, that was brilliant, dude. Here I am saying, how is it possible that we have a guy this eloquent, this handsome, and this sexy, going into the Secretary of Defense post, and you come over the top with the Congressional Medal of Ugly? I mean, that was a body slam like I haven't seen. He said before. Let's get a quote from that. Just a living, breathing, walking molecule of testosterone, so cartoonishly masculine that you can hardly imagine a caricature like this attaining the highest level of government, instead of ending up getting spit out of the bottom of professional wrestling. But so it goes in Trump's world. He likes people on TV, and people on TV tend not to be ugly. His own daughter is a dime, and when she was a teenager, used to grace the Trump casino billboards coming out of the Holland Tunnel in New Jersey. I should point out that nobody is beating my door down asking me to go on TV, and I really don't give a fuck. That's why you're one of my favorite writers out there, JD. The ground that you cover and the honesty in that one paragraph is so disarming that you have to love it.
Thanks,
right?
So we gotta put in a plug for the Substack because a lot of people don't even know about it.
Yeah.
So the Substack is we're gonna get those bastards. It's free. I will never charge for this blog. wggtb.substack.com. Go and sign up. Totally free. I don't really talk about markets. I just talk about life and culture and funny stuff and stuff like that. Super entertaining. Sign up for the Substack.
It is super entertaining. And what I love about your Substack is that I read very selectively, but I devour the subject matter that I'm interested in, that you talk about when it comes around, which is probably, either half, something like that, half the posts or something. But I love this because of the observation, right? Let's start with this. I mean, first of all, the guy's gorgeous. We'll leave him at that. His own daughter is a dime. Ivanka Trump is a dime. I've stood next to her in the espresso shop in Midtown, and in person, it is disarming to be in her presence. She's so beautiful. Not even kidding. She's every bit of 5'10" in heels. She's got gorgeous clothes on. She's shockingly beautiful. That is a great observation. And the fact that I remember the billboards that she was on coming out of the Holland Tunnel. Yeah, man, absolutely fucking great call. What I loved about the Post also is that you're tired of hearing the phrase, you got a face for radio.
Yes.
And I agree with that too, because it's a mixed message to both of us, because we both love radio so much. You want to talk about how much we love radio for a minute?
Talk radio is one of the best things in the world. It really is. Like, Rush is in Cooperstown. Rush is in Cooperstown. He was the best. See, talk radio, I've done talk radio. I had a radio show for 2 years. And it was really hard for me as an introvert, because there's like a switch in your brain that tells you to shut the fuck up and stop talking. And you have to turn off that switch and just keep talking and talking and talking, So I used to go onto this radio station. It was like 6 o'clock at night. I'd be there from 6 to 8. There'd be nobody else in the building. I'd have a mic, and I'd just be talking into the void. And it's a weird thing, because it's a very unnatural act, because you're not getting any feedback. Like, you're talking, but you don't know who's listening. You don't know what they think. You're not getting any feedback. It's one way, but it is, when it's done well, it is brilliant. So Dan Bongino is very, very good. I like him. Glenn Beck is good. He's a little CBDC conspiratorial, but he's pretty good. Ben Shapiro, sounds like a squeaky little mouse, but he's smart, so he compensates for it. Matt Walsh is terrific. Matt Walsh is awesome.
He is great. He is one of the best deadpan humor guys out there. Yeah. Absolutely staggering. So my view on radio comes from being a teenager and being addicted to having my boombox right next to me. I'll never forget that for years, my boombox was my alarm clock for school. And I used to love waking up early in the morning with plenty of a runway before I had to leave for school, so I could listen to Howard Stern. And just flipping the radio, or not flipping, the alarm going on to the voice of Howard Stern just talking is such a pleasant way to wake up. And you talk about some great talk radio guys. It just reminds me of shows on the radio like Casey Kasem's Top 40. That was a guy just doing a soliloquy on music that I was glued to the radio like this, like hanging on every word, because he was telling great stories. And to me, everything is a version of talk radio. Johnny Carson is a version of talk radio. Joe Rogan, it's talk radio. Yeah. Right? It's guys having meaningful conversations that is so pleasing to the human ear when they're Go.
I got to jump in here.
Yeah.
One of the things that people don't appreciate about talk radio is the amount of prep that goes in, right? Like, Dan Bongino doesn't just get on the mic and talk for 3 hours. There's like 6 to 8 hours of prep for every 3 hours that he's on the radio. Howard Stern was the king of this. He had a 4-hour show from 8 to 12 a 4-hour show. And he had a stack of papers like this high, all show prep. And when he ran out of things to say, he just pulled a piece of paper off and it was all like he had worked for days prepping his shows. He never ran out of things to say. It's very hard.
Yep. No, I agree. And, it's a little bit like, we try to do here without having too much rehearsed, but we need to have some subject matter. I need to at least be armed with some facts and levels about the markets. And I think that's what sort of, that's why people need the preparedness, and the preparedness shows when somebody is blasting arguments at whatever level at you. You want them to be accountable. And when they bring the data with them and when they bring the receipts, you're like, wow, impactful shit. So I think that's why the preparation is important. And I think that's why if you're going to be telling somebody something like for an extended period of time, you better have your I's dotted and your T's crossed kind of thing. So That's why I tell you, man, this is one of my favorite things to do, on the list of, your career and job description, the things that you have to do and the things that you get to do. The Macro Dirt podcast is on the very top of the list of the things that I get to do, right next to writing my newsletter every day, because we get great feedback on this. We make good calls. There's nobody on Joe Rogan. There's nobody going on Joe Rogan that is going to tell you that NVIDIA just peaked for the week or the month or whatever it is, putting our balls on the table like that. So hopefully I think we're going to generate a lot of props for this and eventually one day have a big audience.
Yeah. We already have a pretty good sized audience, but I hope it grows. You got to tell people about the show, get them to watch on YouTube, get them to listen online.
We do. My number one thing now when I go on appearances is I tell people to sign up for my free Substack, which includes the Macro Dirt podcast.
Yep.
And then that's literally the angle that I want to play. It's for free. It's the Macro Dirt podcast. There's more content on there as well. And that's really the angle that I want to be portraying, man. I'm hoping that you and I are doing this in 20 years from our wheelchairs,
I'll be in a wheelchair from tripping over my beard.
I know, right? Or your hair by then if you don't cut it. Good shit, brother. I think we're wrapping up Macro Dirt podcast number 29 in some style, don't you?
Hasta la vagina, my man.
Hasta la vagina, everybody.